Hey, welcome to episode 5 of Take Back Your Joy podcast. My name is Jonathan Moore, and we've got an amazing show for you today. Garrett Augsburger is with us today, and so you're going to hear some great things about health and fitness and his forte, and I'm excited to have him in the studio. I want to mention our sponsor, and this is a good friend of mine. Her name is Paula Peckham, and she's a Christian artist, author of fiction, and she's written this series, the San Antonio series. These are period pieces, and so you can find Paula's information or her books on Amazon. And like I said, this is book 1 in a big series of them, and she is a great writer. I taught with her for about 15 years at a local high school here, and she semi-retired. We're too young to retire, so she didn't retire, but she went into being an author, and so God is doing amazing things through her writing. And so go to Amazon and buy Paula Peckham's series. You won't be disappointed. Well, hey, I want to welcome to the show Garrett Augsburger, and let me tell you a little bit about our connection. Is that I work for Garrett's mom in a local school district here, and she's one of the best bosses in the world. And then years ago, I had Garrett in class. I was his teacher, math teacher, for a year there. When you're a little bitty guy, probably 9th grade.
Yeah, I sure was.
Back in the time. So, hey, welcome to Take Back Your Joy podcast. And thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
Well, tell us a little bit about who Garrett is and what you do.
Yeah, so I'll start with saying I do a little bit of everything, right? I've kind of been all over. But just like Jonathan said here, started out in humble little Burleson, Texas, and made my way up through there. Found my way into college, a couple different places. Jumped around, finally fell in love with the health and fitness space through just pure circumstance, I think. And almost 3 degrees and a couple businesses later, here I am, kind of just trying to make a difference in other people's lives, share with all the experiences and knowledge I've gathered with everybody I'm able to interact with around me.
Well, you're going to be a little bit humble about this because you're a good man, but you actually have a PhD. And I should be saying Dr. Augsburger, but you do have a PhD, but you use that. So tell us what it's in and how you use that degree.
Yeah, so all of my education is in exercise science, kinesiology, health science. And so that's what my PhD is in health science. And I take that into the realm of academia a little bit. I still stay at TCU and as an adjunct professor, so I teach over there. But I primarily utilize that to the aspect of growing my business and connecting the clientele and sharing that knowledge with those that need it. And when it comes to who it is, when my trainers and therapists and coaches are helping people, right? So taking that knowledge, helping grow that next generation of health and wellness experts, shaping them up to be the best they can be so they can help everybody out there in the world.
So when you get into that teaching aspect, and you mentioned TCU, and so what's your forte there? What do you make sure that people that are doing what you're doing, what information do you impart to them?
Right, yeah. So the primary course that I teach there is called Exercise Assessment and Prescription, and it's all about how do you intake a new client or a new patient for those students that are going to go be physical therapists, going to go into the medical field, going into the health and fitness field. How do you intake them, do proper evaluations, and then based on what you see, whether they are a normal general population or whether they're a special circumstance, somebody with any kind of this special disease that you're dealing with, any kind of condition. How do you take that into consideration and apply what you know to building out a proper program for them, whether it's rehab, whether it's strength training, whatever it might be. So I help those students kind of understand what that looks like, and then really, truly help them understand what it means to go out and be an adult in the real world. How do you take what you apply or what you've learned in your education and move forward with that? I see way too often so many students learn all the material but not know how to go and apply it into the workforce, right? So that's really my primary purpose. It's to help them go from point A to point B.
One of the things, and you see gyms all over the place and people working out and so forth, but there is probably a good group of people out there that want to be in shape, that they want to make their lives physically better. What's a starting point? What's something that you would say start here if you want to better your life physically. And I know that you probably have had hundreds of people that you've worked with in that situation.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I've had all kinds of clientele from all kinds of different backgrounds. And the first thing that I tell them whenever they first walk into the gym is, you did the hardest part. You came in here, or if it's virtual, you reached out to me. That is step number one. That's the first thing to do, is you just make that one big step. For some people, that's a small step. Others, that's a huge step. Just making that one step into the fitness facility, reaching out to somebody that can help you, right? That goes, once you do that, everything else is downhill from there, right? It's a piece of cake.
I like that thought. And I do, it's like what do you call it? It's a circuit class and so forth. And one of the coaches will say that often. She'll say, the biggest step you took today was showing up, or half the step you took. And
it sounds a little cheesy when people say that, but they're absolutely right. It's, how thankful are you every time you leave there that you showed up, right? You feel so great when you walk out of that space. And for those who are just getting started, yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking whenever you first walk in, but when you leave, you're like, oh, wow, this was special. This was worth it.
Well, it's powerful to me just to think my biggest step was showing up here.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this question about myths or debunks. And your good friend Blaine McRae, I asked him this, and he already has given me his answer. So Blaine, if you're watching, we're not asking you, we're asking your friend Garrett. So what are some myths or things that you would want to debunk about fitness?
So what I see people get caught up in a lot of times in fitness, and this can kind of be a myth or just something that's I see people concerned with too much, is the minutia, right? There's no one right way to get into fitness. Some people are worried about, okay, what's the perfect way to do X, Y, and Z? That's the myth, is there is no perfect way. The perfect way is the way that works for you.
I like that.
Right? Everybody's path is going to look different. Whether you are somebody that has all the time in the world to go work out and start your health journey, wonderful. Or if you are a single mother of 3 with no time on your hands, but maybe 30 minutes to go spend and get after it, right? Whatever that your timing looks like, whatever it is your passion looks like when it comes to the fitness space, find that and dive into it. It might take a minute, and so that's part of what I talked about earlier, just entering the space. That's a big step. You started. You can kind of figure out, does this work for me? If not, no big deal. You learned, right? You learned that maybe this fashion, maybe the cardio, the just cardio wasn't really for me. Maybe I like more the weight training side of things. Maybe I like more of a mixed bag. Maybe I like going to do Pilates. Maybe I like doing spin. Maybe I want to have a personal trainer that's there one-on-one helping me with weight training, right? There's no one size fits all. That's the myth. It's just you find what works for you and fall in love with it.
This is a big question here, and I know the kind of man that you are, and you're a godly man. But I think, and I want to ask you: is there a connection between physical fitness and our mental health, and our emotional health, and our spiritual health? What do you say to something like that?
So, I mean, a resounding yes. There's all kinds of studies that already have been put out for decades now, I guess, about the mental benefits that come alongside with resistance training, working out. We already know what that does to brain chemistry and how that affects just everything downstream of that. All right, so you work out, you feel great, those endorphins are released, there's a cascade of these hormones into the brain, and now you're feeling so much clearer and better after the workout, right? So you had just the benefit of physical, you worked out, right? We're seeing the physical benefits, but now there's the cognitive benefits that come from it. There's the mental stability, the clarity, the focus that is now cascading from the workout, right? I think sometimes after a workout, man, I'm gonna be cloudy and unfocused because I worked so hard. No, I worked out about an hour and a half ago. I'm clear. I'm focused right now. I feel great, and I know it's because I worked out already. If I was working out later on, haven't quite gotten there yet, I might be a little less sharp, a little less quick to the tongue. My mind's not going to be quite where I want it to be. But mind feels better, body feels better. And then when both of those things are in place, this is for me personally, I feel so much more spiritually connected.
That's cool.
My mind is clear. I'm crisp, I'm focused. And when all those things are in line, guess what? I can hear the voice of God more clearly. I'm more cognizant of, okay, I need to sit down and take a minute and just meditate on something that God's placed in my heart, or meditate on what it is he wants from me before I walk into this space I'm about to walk into. When it comes to workouts, your mental state and your spiritual state, they're all tied together. When one is in line, the next one is going to start falling into place, right?
I agree.
I think it goes a long way.
I have two questions that follow up on that. One is, this really is, and I know you don't, you're not a preacher or anything like that but it is a ministry to people when you work with them, or people that are staff with you work with them. And, but then the other part is that I don't think that specifically men, I don't think they understand. And a lot of men struggle with mental health, but they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. And I don't think that they understand what can happen if you get into a routine, or even if you just go, be as regular as you can, that something's going to happen there with even your mental thought life. Would you agree with something?
Right. Absolutely. I truly believe that, like you said, especially for men, we have a hard time feeling like it's okay for us to open up about things and to process our emotions and all that. Once you start getting your life in order when it comes to your physical and mental health, all the rest starts to fall into place, right? You start working out, now you have something to work towards. There's a goal you have to wake up and look forward to, right? You have this thing to push towards. You have maybe somebody to go interact with if you're going to a gym and working out with a buddy, or you have a coach or a trainer. Half of a trainer's job is not just to be there and push you through a workout. It's to be your friend. And I say this all the time. Trainers are half therapists, because
there's a lot of truth to that.
They are 100% sitting there and becoming really, really close to these people, and just getting to hear their stories. I'm so thankful for my time that I got to spend as just a one-on-one trainer whenever I was coming up doing that. Just listening to all the different stories people had, the different backgrounds they were coming from. It gave me so much inspiration, because these people really took a big step coming in here. For me, I was taking it for granted because it was my job. I'm supposed to be here. This is just what I do. I was always an athlete. I always was working out. But for them, this was brand new, men and women, brand new, and they took the step to come in here and come talk to me. And now, not only am I their trainer, but I'm their friend. I have clients that we grew so close together over the years, just because I was seeing them 2-3 days a week, that I still keep. I haven't been their coach, been their trainer in years, and I still keep just super close with them. We still talk, hang out. Every once in a while, we'll go out, grab lunch, whatever it might be, and so just you build relationships in that, and it just goes a long way. I've seen people just come so far mentally, spiritually, and physically over the years whenever I first started with them. And it's rewarding.
Garrett, is there a connection between, and I don't mean to focus just on men, but men tend to be the ones that do like the weight training and that real physical exertion. And I know that when I do that, and I don't max very often because I'm 52 and, my joints are like, hey, take it easy. But I do know that when I physically push myself, whether it's a bench press or something like that I was doing squats this morning and just pushing, exerting that. Is there something physiological or physically, chemically that happens with that?
Yes, there 100% is. And that feeling you get whenever you push through a hard workout and you have that release afterwards, or that rush of kind of energy you might get. It comes in kind of different forms for different people, but that is a physical reaction that's happening at the hormonal level. We have, like I mentioned earlier, you have different endorphins being released, right? You have these signals being sent from the brain or from the rest of the body through the brain that is just telling you that this was a good thing, right? You're feeling great now. you're able to move forward. I talk to people about it all the time, how important specifically certain kinds of workouts are that have a term called axial loading. Whenever you are loading the spine, or you're kind of loading the central nervous system. So big compound movements are ones that produce this effect. Anything where it's compressing the spine, so like a squat, like you just talked about.
Right.
That's CNS stimulating. So central nervous, it's stimulating the central nervous system to elicit a response. And now that parasympathetic response is that pathway is now opened up, there's a cascade of hormones that are released that are going to now start to make you feel better, right?
That's amazing. I mean, just to think that God made us to
absolutely. Isn't it crazy?
Have that need and
all the just minute details that have been built into our system. It's crazy.
What would you say to somebody that's maybe they're starting out or they've fallen off or whatever? What are the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to fitness, when it comes to becoming healthy again?
Whenever you mention people falling off, and that's something that I'm always very protective of. I want everybody that I come into contact with, whether it's me personally or it's my coaches who they're taking care of their clientele, it's leading them to sustainability. I preach from the get-go to my staff and then my students to build things that are sustainable for people, because that's the last thing you want to happen is for them to start something and fall off, right? So if you are coming in off the street, you're not an expert, you don't know anything about fitness, you're looking to find your way, find something that is going to be a long-term sustainable option for you. You know, just like anything, you don't want to dive into it and experience burnout. You know, I have a habit of being just a little bit of like ADHD when it comes to hobbies and things like that. I'll just go full force into something and just dive into it. And then a month later, I'm
over it.
I'm over that one, you know. And so when it comes to something as important as your physical health, you can't afford to be like that. We only have the one body, right? This is the only one we've got. This is all I have. And I'm going to take this with me all the way through this physical plane. I want to take as good a care of it as I can for as long as I can. So pick something that's sustainable for you. And if you need help figuring that out at first, find someone who knows what they're doing, or someone who's been there before. Go seek out a coach. Go take group classes where you're around other people. And that's going to help you kind of figure out, okay, what does this sustainable option look like for me personally?
Is there a connection with, and I think about this because you see at the gym, and certainly like at the beginning of the year and then getting closer to summer, you'll see the influx of people. But one of the things that just kind of weighs a little bit on me is to see young men, like teenage guys that aren't very, familiar with the gym. They aren't familiar, and they kind of just navigating it. And I've done it in a nice way where they're trying to spot each other. I'm like, okay, come to the back of the rack here, spot each other back here. What would you say to that young man that's skinny and doesn't seem to, he can't put muscles on, and he's wanting to start? What do you say to that young man?
Just give it time and commitment, right? You have to commit to it. Just like anything in life, you have to put in the effort. You think all those people in the gym or go to the extreme, look at like bodybuilders and stuff like that. You think they got there in a blink of an eye? No, that's years and years of training that they've put in. That's just taken dedication, right? If you want to take care of that body, for what age group are we talking about? You're 17, 16 years old.
Yeah,
for a guy like that, and you don't think about the long term. I've got a whole life ahead of me, to worry about. But you do only get the one body. The earlier you start, the better. Just commit to it, and there's a wealth of knowledge out there. Ask around, YouTube, research, read articles, right? Dive into it. Focus on an aspect of it that you love, and don't look back.
I like that a lot of young men do go. He's 18, my nephew's 18, and when he was 16, I started taking him to the gym with me, and for probably about a month or maybe two, it wasn't that long, he watched what I did, and I'm certainly no fitness expert, but watched what I did, and then he'd watch other guys in the gym. Mm-hmm. Well, he's a freaking beast now, and he's huge, and just as like, skinny little 16-year-old is now 200-pound man, an 18-year-old. But it helps me to see that he really focused on it. It's something that's part of his routine, that he enjoys it. He was trying to do some football this not too long ago, and he's like, and he hurt his wrist and he couldn't lift for a while. He's like, Uncle John, I just want to lift. I said, well, go lift. Don't worry about football right now. Go lift. He goes, that's where my mind gets cleared. And
that's great that he's figured it out that early too, right?
It was shocking.
Yeah, it's 17, 18 years old, and you already know that, hey, this is fun for me. Gives me some mental clarity. That's awesome.
What do you say? And this is probably 90% of the people out there that want to change their life, but they're like, Garrett, my schedule is crazy. What do you say to that person? Especially, and you mentioned the mom with 3 kids and she's juggling a bazillion things. What do you say?
Start somewhere. Just pick something and start somewhere. If all it takes is to find a virtual program or an online coach that helps you figure out what something you can do at home, before the kids wake up or before you have to go to work or over lunch, whatever it might be. If it's 15, 20 minutes, that's wonderful. That is great. Just do it. And once you start, you'll be able to kind of navigate and figure out where it is that you need to be or where it is that works for you, right? But if you just start somewhere, then it's going to make everything so much easier down the line. I always say that there's always a way. There's always a way for somebody to do it. I've had so many people come to me and say exactly that. Like, yeah, I don't have the time. Once I get home, I'm so exhausted. It's okay. Like, let's unpack that. Let's look at where is a place that maybe we have 20 minutes where you can go in the bedroom and do body weight stuff, or where you can escape and do a 30-minute class or whatever it might be. There's always a way to make it happen.
I think one of the things people, and I do this sometimes, they'll do, all they can do is 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And I say, well, that's not going to count. But would you agree? Just
there
do
is
just
a
go do the
heck
15.
of a lot I can do with somebody in 15 minutes.
That's amazing.
You give me 15 minutes with somebody, we'll go a hard 15 minutes, and it's going to feel like you just worked out for an hour, and 15 minutes of your day, done, and boom, you can move forward, take care of everything else you need to, and now you're already starting to see the benefits. Something is always better than nothing.
Absolutely. And this may go along with that same kind of thought, but the motivation of it, and to stay motivated, and specifically with like diet. A lot of people struggle with staying motivated with, they'll maybe work out, but then their diet is trash. Nobody I know. Maybe I've done that. But what do you say to that person?
Well, there is 3 primary pillars of health of physical health that are going to build your platform for your future success. One of them is the workouts, right? Are you working out? Great. Wonderful start. The second one is nutrition. Is nutrition in order? The third one is sleep. If any one of those 3 pillars is out of line, that your building's not going to stand. You're going to be out of sync, right? And so it's tough to stay on track and stay motivated to take care of all 3 of those things. But again, there's always a way. There's always a way that's going to work for each individual person. That's not going to look the same for anybody. I'm not going to go give cookie cutter advice just because it's what works for me is going to be totally different for somebody else, right? But find a way that works for you and that helps keep you motivated. If that is finding a nutrition coach or a workout coach, whatever it might be, a program that you like to follow online, then go for it, right? Focus on the nutrition, focus on the workouts, figure out what works for you on that front. Get your however many hours of sleep you need. That's also different for everybody else. That 8 hours is a great suggestion, but I'll tell people to figure out what works for them on that as well.
I found out when it specifically came to sleep, because I was like, I don't sleep enough, or I get up early and have to, and then I thought about how much time I waste on my phone. Mm-hmm. And 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 15 minutes there, and I'm like, that could, if I put the phone down at 9 or something like that, instead of, and I'm guilty of this, that, I'll look at it before I go to bed too and think I could be sleeping while I'm looking at these stupid TikToks.
You and every other person in, it's not just America, on planet Earth. It is, it's an epidemic, and if we can I can dive into a little bit of what my kind of doctoral research looks
Please
like.
do.
Well, all of my research in general, kind of a subsection to that is sleep health and our kind of circadian patterns that we undergo each and every day, and how important those are when it comes to optimizing mental clarity, physical performance, and all that. That time you spend on the phone at night just doom scrolling on TikTok or Instagram is a lot more detrimental to your physical and mental performance than you think it is. Not just because, I'm losing sleep, but also we have this fancy term. It's called your suprachiasmatic nucleus. It's this little thing in the hypothalamus in your brain. It's your primary circadian clock within your body, right? It helps your body stay in tune with what time of day it is, what's our sleep-awake cycle looks like, and that gets all thrown off whenever I have this artificial light right in my face for an extra hour at night, or whenever I wake up in the morning and I'm looking at it, right? The best thing you can do is, and obviously you have to make work with what you can with your schedule and things like that, but artificial light, if you can limit that a couple hours before bed, wonderful. Go put that phone somewhere on the other side of the room. It'll be there for you in the morning, right? So if your alarm needs to go off, this is even better, because now you have to stand up and go get your phone over there, and now you're out of bed. Great. That's awesome. That's what I've learned to do to make that works for me, because I'm guilty of that too, sitting there on my phone just and look up. I was just looking at that for 30 minutes. So what am I doing? This I should know better, right? But yeah, you want to be protective of your brain on that front. The amount of light we take in is very, very, very crucial to how we feel throughout the rest of the day. If you get good natural light in early, close that down a few hours before bed, get your 8 hours, you're going to feel so well rested as you move into the next day, right? Your mind's going to be so much more clear and so much more focused.
Well, this is interesting, because Taylor, who produces this show, has recently been doing a workout thing where he does 45 minutes of training, then 45 minutes of walking. But the hitch is that the walking has to be outdoor. In your study, because you're talking about light and how does that affect us? Right.
So whenever we get a good dose of light in the morning, right, that has a kind of again, I've talked about this hormonal cascade that occurs. I won't go too much into the minutiae
You're welcome to.
of all the hormones and all that, but we have this cascade that occurs, and that if you think of your brain like a machine, right, it's now waking that machine up, getting all the gears turning, and that just cascades throughout the entire body. Now I'm more focused, I'm more energized as I go through the day, as opposed to if I postponed that, maybe I stayed in a dark space for a extended period of time before I really got moving. Now I'm going to be a little more sluggish, right? My energy's not quite going to be there. My mental focus isn't going to quite be there. And that's going to just affect the rest of my day. It's going to affect how I perform in my workout. It's going to affect how I perform at work, right? If you want to be as sharp as possible, get that good morning, get a good dose of light whenever you wake up. Obviously, whenever that daylight savings time comes around, that's a little harder. Some of us are already off to work and it's still dark. If that's the case, then artificial light is okay for that in the mornings. It's not nearly as good as the natural light, but you do what you can.
Well, I found myself doing this because I work in an office, but it just several times during the day, I'll just get up and I'll just go walk around the building.
One of the best things you can do, besides just getting up and moving your body, right? That's awesome. But now you're getting a good dose of that natural light, right? Your eyes you're intaking it through your eyes, and then your SEN is absorbing that, taking that in. And we're having a good cascade through the rest of the body of what's going to make you feel great and clear the rest of the day.
I think that people hearing that there is a chemical thing that's going on.
It's a chemical reaction in your brain that is going to occur, right? And you're going to reap the benefits.
Well, it's good to know because you're thinking, well, I'm just being fidgety. No, you're actually doing
it's a good
yourself.
thing. Yeah, move. Yeah.
So when it comes to people that some like cardio and some like weight training and some like Pilates, yoga, is there a balance with all of that kind of stuff?
I 100% think there is. Obviously, if you love a particular modality of training, dive into it, fall in love with it, get really good at it, but don't limit yourself. Obviously, I've come from I've had a few years of kind of the bodybuilding background, and so really fell in love with that bodybuilding style training, right? Lifting heavy, trying to lift big to look good, all that good stuff. And now, as I've gotten a little older, I've transitioned to more into the functionality of training, wanting to be as good of an athlete as I can for as long as possible. I want my body looking good and feeling good, right? Yeah. So there is a balance. If you love one mode, great, but don't neglect the others. There's no, again, just cookie cutter formula. You should have a proper balance of resistance training, cardio, and some sort of mobility and flexibility training. That's no matter who you are, whatever your goals are. Making sure your cardiorespiratory system is in as good a shape as it can be. Making sure that your muscles are strong and healthy, and some flexibility goes a long way too, right? You feel good when you can move. That's going to lead to that long-term longevity that we start to appreciate more and more as we get older.
I noticed one time when I was lifting quite a bit, and I did have some physical strength or whatever, but I reached under to my car and I could not bend enough to get underneath the seat in my car. I had no flexibility, even though I had some muscle.
Go take a yoga class every once in a while.
Right.
Go do some flexibility training, right? Whenever I was taking one-on-one clients, hands-on clients, I would end all of our sessions with some flexibility work, right? Some manual manipulation, or take them through some mobility work, flexibility stuff, and they loved it. They hated it at first, but then they loved it because, Garrett, I'm feeling so much more flexible. I can touch my toes. I feel great. My body feels great, and it's a little bit of a cool down process at the end, right? Just this kind of woosah, breathe, and move back into our day.
Well, I think that's like don't have lower back issues much, but I do. That's where if I'm going to get tight, if it's going to ache, it's going to be my lower back. But I can always tell when I've stretched at the end of something, or got on the floor and did it's way better. So I mean, you just have to remind yourself to do it.
It's one of those things that, I don't really want to go do this, but I should, right? And it goes a long way.
So I know you said one of those three pillars is diet, and I think all of us know what's good diet, what's not good diet.
Relatively, right.
But we live in a fast food society. So what do you say to that person that says, I really want to work out, but just it's way easier to go through the drive-through? What do you say to that person?
Right. Again, just like I said earlier, there's always a way. I have fallen into, again, this is what I do. I've fallen into that trap of, Garrett, you've kind of picked up a few too many drive-throughs this week. Let's maybe cut back on that. And I feel it. I really start to feel it whenever I start to go through a week where my diet's just not really in shape and everything else is out of whack from there. My sleep is out of line. Like, I can just feel a little heavier. My digestive system is not running as smoothly because I'm taking in all this crap. And now my workouts I'm not fueling my workouts. And so I'm not getting the same cognitive benefits. I'm not getting the same physical benefits. So, all right, what do I do? How do I find a way to get away from that? Because it's a convenience thing, right?
Right.
That's why they're there. That's why these companies are multi-billion-dollar corporations, because they're feeding off our convenience. Our American lifestyle is work, go grab food, work, go to bed. How do we break away from that, right? And it's just, all it takes is a little extra commitment and preparation on your part. A lot of people have already figured this out. Hey, on Sunday, I'm going to meal prep all my food for the week. A lot of people have started to shift and do that, and that's made me really happy. I've had clients that have started to do that, and they've seen the benefits from it. So again, find some recipes you like, healthy, we'll quote healthy
Right.
recipes you like, work on perfecting those. Again, give yourself some wiggle room at the start. It'll take some time to figure it out. Find things you like, find things that work. Go prep it beforehand, whether it's a few days in advance. Don't maybe cook a full week's worth of food on Sunday, because by the time you get to Friday, you're just eating the same sludge that you've been eating for a week. If it causes you to have to stay up about 30 minutes later at night prepping for the week, then I think that's a good sacrifice.
That's a good point, that you just plan it at the end of the day, ready for the next one.
Absolutely.
And I found that out. If I'm ready for the next day, I'm that much more likely to follow through with going to the gym or getting done what needs to be done, and the to-do list when I take a little bit of time of the day before.
Yeah, I've built my own version of a bowl beforehand. I can now, the next day I can just pop that in the microwave and boom, I'm good to go. There's lunch, and I know that this was a good, healthy lunch for me. It's one of those things I tracked all the macros already on it. Everything was already proportioned out. But even if you don't do that, it's still a good, healthy lunch as opposed to the alternative, running through Chicken Express or whatever it might be, go to Burger King and picking up a fast food sandwich or something.
I'm waiting for the day Chicken Express is healthy.
You and me both.
What do you say, Garrett, to somebody that's plateaued in their fitness, that they've tried it and they've seen some changes, and certainly with and this is a little bit of a catch. So some guys, when they go to the gym and they've seen some gains, they've seen some toning and so forth, but then they see that a guy that's been doing it for many years, and they're like, I am never going to get to that place, or they get discouraged in their progress. What do you say to that person?
Right. So again, this is just like with any skill set. Whatever it is, if it's with a skill set you're developing for work or for just your personal life, some kind of skill you're practicing, we'll always get to a point where we're plateauing that. And so what do you do when you plateau in any skill, right? Try something else.
Yeah.
Change it up, do something different. And so that just injecting a little bit of change into it is going to go just a mile, right? So for me, again, this is what I do. This is my life. This is my profession. I still have a hard time sometimes when it comes to my workouts sticking to a certain program, because if I stick to it for too long, I get bored, right? I get bored with it. I've started to plateau in whatever my goal is for that. When it was building muscle, then I would see those plateaus like I can't build any more muscle, or like I'm not seeing any more benefit to what it is I'm doing right now. I'm not getting over this hump that I'm at. Okay, inject some change into that. I would take a week and off from I would still kind of do my lifts and everything, but tone way back and go take a week where I'm focusing just purely on my cardio training, right? Just focusing on my mobility work. I would then come back rested from whatever it was I was doing, whatever the skill I was focusing on, and now I can move past that and build past that plateau. And it depends on what goal you're looking for in the gym. For a lot of people, that's weight loss, right? Whenever they are, I just can't lose any more weight. I'm at this sticking point.
That's huge.
Right? So let's dissect what it is you're doing. Do we have everything modulated with sleep, with your workouts, with nutrition? Where can we inject a little bit of change in there to generate that extra push that's going to get you over the edge past that plateau? So for a lot of people, that might be just changing up the diet that they're on, right? Okay, you've been eating X, Y, and Z for so long. Maybe let's take a week back from that diet and just kind of eat intuitively for a week, which just means you're not really tracking things. You're not like planning anything out. You're just kind of going off of your hunger cues and just eating when you feel like you should. Just kind of being mindful of it, but it's not your focus, okay? That might be something that, when you come back, now you're able to push through that plateau and move past it. Or if your workouts, if you've been sticking to the same thing for 2 months now, okay, of course you're not going to be seeing any change because you've just been doing the same thing.
Right.
That's where having a good coach or a good trainer can go a long way, right? Because they're going to help take care of that for you. They'll be able to modulate things and be able to make sure that you're pushing through those plateaus and help you identify when a plateau has occurred. Super big help there. Again, it just, if you look at the three pillars, okay, what am I doing? Is there anything I can change? Am I not getting enough sleep? Get more sleep. Am I just getting bored with my workouts? Am I getting bored with what it is I'm eating? Let's find a way to change things up a little bit.
This wasn't in my notes with you, so I hope you don't mind me asking.
Absolutely not.
This. I see, and I like to see young men being fit and getting that, but it can become an obsession. And I have seen that where they obsess over it. They obsess over their food. They obsess over working out. And honestly, sometimes when they aren't able to get gains, or their schedule changes where they're not able to do an hour like they used to, or an hour and a half, or whatever it is. And you definitely see that with younger men that are obsessed with building muscle and looking like the guy it's concerning to me.
It is. I have seen that time and time again. All the different gyms that I've been to over the years, you see it every day, right? There's some guys, call them kids. I mean, they're maybe 18 to 24 years old, usually kind of that range that I see a lot of that happen in.
Right.
They're looking for something to grab onto. And that was me at that same point in time. I was no longer a college athlete anymore. I was looking for something to identify with. I wasn't sure where my identity was, I was away from home at college. And that's what I latched onto. I was in those shoes. I became obsessed with working out and just trying to dive into that. And at the time, I thought that I wanted to kind of get into the bodybuilding scene. And just like any skill, if you're going to be an athlete or whatever it is, it takes 100% commitment and dedication to be there. But looking back on it, I wish I could have imparted some advice to my younger self of, Garrett, just look out into your future and think, is this something that you think you'll be doing in 10 years from now? And even at 21, 22 years old, I would have the foresight said, no, of course not. So it's one of those things where I wish that those guys would take a minute to reflect on, is this something that is going to be important to me a decade from now? And if the answer is no, then there's probably not a reason to become obsessive over it, right? Because then when you become obsessive over it, now what happens? When you start to, or when you're not reaching the goals that you think you have set, or you're always chasing something else, and that's just not good for your mental health, especially in this space where it's so easy to get just beat down by looking at other people, right? Comparing yourself to other people. I've seen so many guys and girls, right, fall into the trap of, I'm never going to look like that person over there. I'm never going to look like them, Okay, who cares? It's fine. You're you. Be you. Be the best version of you that you can be. Don't obsess over this thing. You're never going to look like that. You're going to look like the best version of you that you can put out there. I hate to see young men and women fall into this mental trap of becoming obsessive over something like over how their body looks, right? It's important to take care of your body, and we should all strive to look good and to be physically fit, right? But we shouldn't become mentally obsessive over it, where it's becoming this thing where if we're not that, right, then we're nothing. And I fell through a cycle of that as well. And it's like, I get it. There's this thing I kind of fell in love with, and it's great. Love it. Go be good at it, but don't make that your personality. Don't make that your be all end all, right? Have other things to focus on and get good at. Not this one thing that's so focused on just the aesthetics, and whenever you're not this thing, it's just so detrimental to the mental health of all these young men and women that I've seen.
I'm glad I've asked you this, and like I said, it wasn't in our sequence because what you said is good, and I think it can go both ways. It's somebody that is very, very fit, but it's not enough, and then there's somebody that's struggles with weight and so forth, and they think I will never.
Right.
And both of those are mental traps. what would you say to that person that it can be stuck in both of those, or either one of those mental traps that I'm not going to be good enough no matter what?
Right. I've seen it from both directions whenever it comes to people coming in that I look at them like, man, you look great.
Right.
You look awesome. Like, I love that you're striving for this, but don't let that beat you down, right? Objectively, like, you are doing awesome. You're doing great. Don't get caught in that trap of, I'm just never going to be good enough. And then in the inverse, right? Somebody that I'm never going to look like that person. Like, they're overweight, right? They're trying to get in shape. Great, you're here. Let's focus on being here and being the best version of yourself today that you can be. Let's get through this workout. Let's get through this day. Let's perform our best today. The rest will fall into place later, right? You don't become obsessive over it, where that's just something that's going to be dragging you down. Like you said, that mental trap. Because then you're holding yourself down, right? If you can release that and just focus on, how can I be the best me that I can be? What can I do to focus on improving just me today? That's going to be a huge step. And I think that just comes with maturity, right? A lot of, this is something that a lot of younger people fall into, but I've seen it. I've seen people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s coming with that same mindset as well. And I think just take the time, breathe, reflect, focus on what it is you can control, and go from there.
Well, they can even with social media, because then you start scrolling through and
It's a dangerous place.
Then all of your stuff is people that are weight training, and then you get stuck in that trap of looking at what everybody else and how big they are. But then they also miss what God does in our bodies through taking a walk or lifting weights or going to a Pilates class or whatever. They miss that. Yeah. The treasure that God gives us, but when the blood's flowing and the sweat's running.
Each one of us has a beautiful temple of a body to go out and improve upon and perform with, and to help further His kingdom. Let's use that. Let's make this thing the best version of it that we can today, to go out and make other people's lives a little bit better. I've started to do a little bit more, and one of the things that the trainer asked me was, why are you wanting? I said, because I saw myself on camera, and I'm still, I was like, I'm seeing myself on camera more and more, but at the same time, and maybe hopefully this helps somebody, at the same time, no matter what you look like, no matter what your body fat content is, no matter how many times you're able to get into a workout, be, as Garrett said, be the best you that you can be, and let the rest fall into place. And we really do get to a place where we stop enjoying. We stop enjoying life. We stop enjoying the things we can do. And I also like to think about, there's a lot of people that aren't physically able to do. My mom, toward the end of her life, she was very limited mobility-wise, and she would have given anything to be able to walk without a walker, to not fall, to not suffer with dementia. And you can really step away from what we're thinking that we're have to have or don't have or whatever somebody else would be blessed to have. 100%. I've over the past couple of years now started to just completely change my mindset on how it is I want to go about taking care of my body, right? And now I think about, okay, whenever I'm 65 years old, I still want to be able to jog. I still want to be able to do push-ups, pull-ups. I want to be able to go on a hike, move my body. Like, I still want to be able to do all these things throughout my lifespan. And so the mentality has changed, right? I still want to be strong and fit and, and look good, but I want to be able to do things as long as I possibly can. If I could be 100 years old and still just rocking and rolling, wonderful, because it's going to, one, it's inspiring to other people, but it's just going to feel so good to know that, okay, what I did over my entire life really, truly paid off, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Well, I've seen your parents, and they're both physically fit. And your dad's definitely Mr. Jody's real fit. So you've got good genes so far. I want to ask you one more thing before we close out. Is that person that's had a setback? They've had surgery, or like me when I had knee replacement a couple of years ago. It was quite eye-opening when the first month I was on a walker. And of course I bounced back from that, but what do you say to that person that they either have had surgery or something is just chronically hurting, and and they're set back. They're discouraged by that.
Right. Don't stop. If you are somebody I've seen this happen all the time. People have a great mentalities in the gym. They have great schedules. They're committed, and something happens. They get sick, or they have a procedure, and then they just will never come back. Right? They're healed. Their body can do it. So what's stopping them from making the comeback? It's a mentality thing. And again, and that's not to say that it's a different case for each person, right? Your physical capability will be different, maybe before and after something. But don't stop. There's always something that you can do to still replicate what you were doing before.
Right.
If there is maybe you can't do exactly what you're doing. Maybe you can't go lift all the heavy weights that you were doing. Your body just doesn't quite move like it can or like it used to. It can still do something. Something is always, always, always better than nothing. And maybe guess what? Maybe one day you might be able to find your way back into that thing you were doing. You don't know if you gave up on it though. You don't fall into that mental trap of, well, I'll get back into it eventually. No, get back into it now. Start somewhere. It might be a little discouraging when you start because, you're not able to move the way you used to. You can't do this activity. You can't go play pickleball. You can't go play golf. You can't do these things that you're expecting yourself to be able to do. And it's a little discouraging. But the alternative is you sitting around doing nothing. So get out and do something. If you need to go get help to do it, grab a coach to do it, do it. If you need to go grab a friend, great. If any of my friends anybody in my life needed me to go hang out with them while they lifted weights or go try to do something, say when. I'll go be there, just to get you back on your feet and help you to know that it's going to be okay. Sure, you're not this stud athlete that you used to be, right? But you're still you, right? Go take care of yourself.
That's good. And I think one of the themes of what you've said today is whatever you can do it, and that's okay.
Right.
Be satisfied with where you are and work harder toward.
Right.
And I think that's a message for everybody's life.
Absolutely.
That a lot of people just are overwhelmed by what they have or they don't have and whatever it is. But there's a message in just being satisfied with what God gave you for today.
Yeah.
So we're going to pray in a second, but how do people find you? How do they?
Yeah. So best way is if anybody wants to reach out on Instagram at the Garrett Augsburger or my business accounts, Flatline Fitness Official. We have some other Instagram pages opening up soon as the business expands. So social media is always a great way. I've got some LinkedIn and some old YouTube videos people can go out and watch as well through Flatline Fitness. But give it a Google. Website is always there if anybody needs to reach out.
We'll follow Garrett, and we'll put your links in our show notes. And Garrett also likes to travel, and I like your travel vlogs as well. So I know you haven't been able to much lately, have you? Or
no, but I'm starting back up soon. Got some good trips planned.
So follow him more than just fitness. He does some neat, different adventures and so forth. So you want to see that. Well, I want you to pray with our audience, and just so everybody knows, I always ask. I don't just say, you're going to pray, Garrett, and then he's agreed to. So whatever God's placed on your heart for somebody that's watching or listening today, can you just lead us in prayer for that person? Go ahead.
Dear Lord, my Father, we thank you for the opportunity to just come together today to praise you about all the good things that you've brought us when it comes to our physical and mental health. Lord, we thank you for just the bodies and the minds that you've given us. I pray that if anybody out there is just in need of a little extra push, then maybe listening to this was able to do that for them. I pray that you lay your hand upon them and just give them that fire that they need to go out and improve upon their life, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, Lord. I pray that you just watch over all our listeners, guide them. Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we just appreciate all the many blessings you've given us. I was here to talk about our bodies and our fitness today, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for the wonderful bodies that you've given us. I pray that we're all able to, in our different ways, go out and use those to grow your kingdom here on earth. I pray that we just take care of ourselves mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, Lord. Help people to find their way, God. Again, we thank you, Lord. We love you. We trust you. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being part
Thank
of
you for having
today.
me on. I really appreciate it.
You don't need me to say this, but I'm very proud of you. And
That goes a long way.
the young men that you still surround yourself with, Blaine and Reed and different ones like that.
I got really
Corbin,
lucky with that. I got really lucky.
all are very
Blessed.
good, decent young men, and you make me proud. And so thank you for what you're doing with your life, that you're using it to help people and reaching out there. So you and your sister Meredith, I have known both of you for a long time. I'm really proud of what God is doing in your life. So
that means a lot. It really
keep
does.
going on. So you guys look up Garrett and Flatline Fitness and reach out to him if you want more information from him. Once again, if you're a business and you're maybe looking for a place to advertise, we would love for you to be a part of Take Back Your Joy podcast. Just direct message me and we'll let you know how you can support what we do. So keep going out there, telling your stories. Thank you again, once again, Garrett, for being with us, and make your life count for the Lord. We love you. We'll see you in the next episode.